2019 into 2020. What a time. So I am Keith. I am a 56-and-a-half-year-old raw vegan spiritual thrill seeker. I'm a spiritual being in a physical body. And what a time of learning. So back to the beginning of 2019 of getting into meditation practice, of like what I'm realizing now, and I'm going to link in the drop down a link to the whole development of the Vipassana thing, which I've learned more and more about, of like how it started. And I was just thinking, oh, it's like Buddhism. It's not Buddhism. It's actually just a technique that helps you get more into yourself, of understanding yourself. Like my video past, if you look into it, what is Vipassana, of where people look outward all over the place for everything, when really you need to be looking inward to seeing what is your reality. And so that was a big lot of 2019 of my practice developing, of me understanding more about myself, of getting into maybe some old trials and tribulations, especially with, I spent the early part of 2019 of hanging around with a lot of people, bigger groups of people, which I'm not really comfortable with. Not that I'm afraid of it, but I just find it unsatiating. I like to go in deep with people. I'm kind of more of a one-on-one person, and then the company of three becomes suspect, like right away. Like, I'm not saying it's not possible, but definitely four is like out of the question. So, yeah, so 2019, I like acquired some new friends. I was just, stuff went on, of really figuring out deeper who I was. And then I was doing a lot of service here at the Vipassana Center, which is where I'm still at. And of like about, I think at the beginning of the year, being aware that we're coming into the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is a big shift, and of knowing full well that it's coming in, and of me getting more comfortable with being like, yeah, I want change. I want to find out what's going on. I want to be faced with adversity. And I'm a super emotional person, of just being to where, just because I'm not afraid of it doesn't mean that I don't feel it, because I definitely went through a lot of phases, multiple phases this year. Very difficult time emotionally with somebody I was very into, and direction shifted. When I say into, it was sort of a bromance, I guess. I don't even know. Like, I like that aspect of it. And that's a big thing I have to say also. I've been for the last couple of years really wanting to toss out this whole like issue of ageism, because we're 25, 30 years of difference between people. Like, that's nothing in the spiritual world. We're basically androgynous as spiritual beings. And then sexism, which is a big thing, or like, what is your sexual preference, of where that's another big, not a big deal, because we're androgynous. So like, you know, although I have to strangely wash my hands of that immediately, because I've been told by psychics that I've mostly only been male all of my lives, and I've mostly only been with males. So, but that being said, that was a development of mine, because I happen to be sort of very guy on the outside, and very effeminate on the inside, very of female qualities, very nurturing, very compassionate, very empathetic, and having empathy, yep, and those kind of things. So of like bringing those things in, of being around more people, and of developing those making those things more neutral and not an issue, and they're big issues with so many people, and also of becoming more of a minimalist, of like, not that I've ever been that defined by stuff, of simplifying everything, simplifying my living situation, making my living situation more unique to who I actually am, which is a raw vegan, which is a spiritual thrill seeker, a spiritual like lover of like just of pursuing this avenue of the spirit is the real thing. So like my teacher, Truth Calkins, well, I think we're like friends now. I don't know, but like he's like the Jing master, right? Like, well, I'm the Shen master, of where it's just like that's the real thing. I mean, I am into the Jing and the idea of like, you know, I want to do everything I can so that I can discover all of these possibilities. And that is really a big thing that I brought into like light when I met with Truth in May. It was the second time we'd met around the time of my birthday, and of just getting all of his ideas, of having come, I'm coming around to like, it was really 10 years then, because he became aware of me, I was already a fan of his, and he became more aware of me individually. 10 years, it would have been 10 years at a David Wolf event that I was in early spring 2009. Of where I was still like influenced, like I would really taken the Shen thing to a next level with my yoga practice, which, you know, a lot of people could make the mistake of thinking that yoga, like this is a little digression, yoga is not exercising. It is not working out. It is a spiritual practice that involves the movement of the body and connecting the body with purpose into stuff just like this is like a place of like I need to do a whole freaking video on this, of just people that are like vegan and like I work out with weights and I do this and I do that and da 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 da. It's like, fuck you, you're full of shit. It's like, do yoga, meditate, maybe do some Tai Chi, do Qigong. It's just like all your stupid little repetitive exercises that's giving you some buff body that's useless as fuck, that ain't gonna be worth a shit when you're like over 60 or whatever. Whereas yoga is gonna like just, like you're not gonna have guns or like, so stupid. I've just like came to this point of like, that is so dumb. So dumb. Oh my God, what a digression that was. So I just got more in tune with like learning a few things from Truth, like of where I'm at now, of like I was just like, there was a few things that like, there's a few things I'm still not into that Truth is into, like the whole EMF thing, of where it's like, I'm not really sure. Like I have actually a big long video of Truth talking about EMF, and I think if you're a Jing master only, I'm sorry, Truth, I think you do need to worry about EMF. But I think if you're a Shen master, which is more the direction that I'm going, but I'm also aware that I am a physical, like this is my body, this is the expression that I'm doing of with my Shen, of with my soul life. I've come here, and while I'm aware, it's like I want to have complete control. Like I said in 2016, after I came back from Thailand, I am going to become breatharian in this dimension, and I am going to ascend with my body. So I'm getting to a point of where I'm sort of manifesting what I want. I'm with the Vipassana. I'm learning that so much of the stuff that I've been wanting to do all of my adult life has to do with meditation. Has to do with meditation, of getting rid of all that mental stuff, of being what's real and not of creating all these, because we're gods. So your mental thing can project all this stuff, and you need to get control of it, because otherwise it can kind of completely destroy you, and you can create all of these fake movies and things that you think are real, and then you start reacting to them and doing things that are actually have nothing to do with who you really are. So that's when you meditate, and particularly, and this is not a distinction between Vipassana and Buddhism. Of Buddhism, you can study Buddhism, but the actual stuff that the Buddha taught was you don't need to study shit. You need to meditate. You need to meditate all the time, prolonged meditation of figuring out who you are, of like focusing in on your breath, focusing in on your sensations, and whatever you have to do to get there, wherever you're at. But you need to start getting down to that basic sort of Vipassana thing, which is anapana, breathing, and becoming aware of the breath on its own, meaning you're not doing pranayama. That's controlled breath, which is a little more, this is totally different, of just your own breath as it's naturally going, and then you are thinking only about your breath going in and out, of being aware of the sensation of it, or at least, because I have such a shallow breath when I get in that state, it's hard for me to feel the breath. So basically you're just like focusing only on the sensation of the breath going in and out of your nose as it's hitting what sensation it has, and thinking about nothing else. And initially, it's a big clusterfuck because your mind's like all over the place. And then you start honing in, and you just eventually, that gets quiet and it gets beautiful. And then Vipassana, that's anapana. Vipassana is where you just scan and you think only about your like going down through your body from head to toe, toe to head, and eventually moving wherever in a very orderly fashion of being aware of those sensations and being equanimous with them. That's Vipassana. And you start changing. And you don't start changing into like shape-shifting. You start becoming who you really are. And that's fun because all of a sudden so many things that were difficult become easy. And so that's where I'm at in the 2019-2020 shift, which has been this Saturn-Pluto change, looking at the time. Big change. So Pluto is about the underworld, about the dark stuff, of, like I said, the underworld, transformation of like the unseen and the God in the unseen, because a lot of people have this like heaven and hell thing, and that's bullshit. God is in everything, and Pluto is that sort of awareness of the darkness. And then Saturn's about what's real, and so those two have conjuncted in Capricorn, which Capricorn is the Saturn is exalted in Capricorn, so there's a similar energy there where Capricorn's about what's real. So it's been this whole, it's a big time. History is marked with these conjunctions and oppositions of Saturn, so this has been a big time. And so I was kind of wanting to do a video, but I wanted to get on the other side of this. And if I'm just saying, like, I'm there. I see the truth of like where I'm like, I've arrived at this point where I have a complete like meditation practice, and that's what I needed from the beginning. Of like, I've had all of these like amazing goals for like creativity, eating, longevity with my body. I've been into the longevity thing since when I first discovered really all of it. Like I became vegetarian at 13, raw and vegan at the same time, and into longevity and into like lustfully pursuing all the possibilities of health, wellness, and longevity. Did I say longevity? And of just human potential, of like taking charge of your life and designing your life how you want it to be. Well, the monster that gets in the way is mental stuff. It has to do with like relationships, craving, sex, emotional like upheavals of like needing to be satiated with things that you think, or maybe things that you've drug in from past lives or new things or whatever. But it's all good because you just have to realize that you set up, that was a big thing for me, of just realizing I created all this. That was going on back in 2011, 2012. And that was the big change with everything. December 21st, 2012, that's when everything started changing. 2013, 9 days later, that's when everything started changing for me. And anybody that is like journaling or charting their life or paying attention to their life knows that all this shit started changing December 21st, 2012. Or at least you can see something at the head of 2013. I totally can. So all of it's come to a head now. I've like achieved a lot of stuff. Like I set like a lot of intentions. I went to Thailand. I wanted to go to Thailand. I spent 45 days in Thailand. And I kind of really found out that actually everything is, for me, the way I do stuff is really in my own backyard. I really don't need to travel the world. Like I have a whole universe with what I've already set up for myself, living in the mountains, of being in my little Taurus. I'm a sun sign Taurus, ascendant Leo, and Pisces moon. But my whole Taurusness, it's like very content in my little hobbit house in the mountains and all of these little like comfortable like lifestyle things that I've set up. I don't need to go out all over the place, like, because I have a whole universe inside me. So when I got back, I remodeled my house because before I went to Thailand, I had a bunch of problems in my kitchen and insurance claimed. I changed my house into my whole like what I wanted. And then everything just started following suit of getting more into practice. When I say practice, yoga, taking charge of my body, getting more into like being a strict raw vegan. Had already done my first long liquidarian fast, and then I'm here like in 2019, right? At the Vipassana Center, where I'm doing long-term service. I'm isolated from my home. I'm around this energy all the time, which is a very fixed, magical, transformative, amazing energy from humans coming here, and the Dhamma energy, the energy of the Buddha, the enlightenment energy. Meditating all the time, doing liquidarian fast, being in long-term service, serving this whole institution, and then I meet Ryan, and in like November, my friend Dan says to me, like, make sure you talk to that guy. And then he starts talking about Ilitom, and I'm like, it's the first time I've ever really met anybody that's like talks positively about breatharianism or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm into that. Like there's this other guy that I met here at Vipassana that I went to see Yonzi and Alex with, and he was into it, but he was doing a lot of psychedelics and kind of in a little bit, like kind of out there a little bit. But this guy Ryan was like, he's like, yeah, I want to be a monk, and he seemed like kind of modern and really open and progressive, and a lot of people that are like that are sort of a little bit stuffy and too fundamental for me. And so all of a sudden I was here, I was already liquidarian, and just like I just started going, and it's like, oh, I'm there, I see it, like you're just there. Of like, I see the truth. Like, I just need to keep refining more and more. And it's like, it doesn't feel like it's a struggle anymore. Of like, sensations. Of like, oh, I need to have a coffee. Like, I've kind of always liked a little bit of coffee. I've gotten to where I don't really drink coffee. But there was a time when I drank so much fucking coffee. And not in any negative way am I talking about it, of where it's like it's bad for your nervous system or this or that or whatever. But in the sense of craving and sensations and all that stuff is the death of you. And then all of a sudden I was making these liquidarian soups in my Vitamix, these sort of thick soups, which I figured out last year when I was liquidarian for 90 days, a simple thing that worked for me, of like, I'm getting more and more simple. Like, I really don't want to eat spices anymore. And I never thought I'd see the day for that. I thought that like, like not smoking weed anymore was a big deal. It's like, oh my God, spices. Like I've gotten to where I'm so sensitive to like a little bit too much salt, a little bit too much sour. Oh my God. Like sour always had to be like kind of pumped up. Meaning like apple cider vinegar, lemons or limes. I'm eating so bland. And I think a bit of this was planted in from Truth Calkins, yeah, of where he was I was talking about spices, and I was just like, he's like, yeah, spices and everything is good for getting rid of bacteria and yeast and molds and funguses and viruses and everything, which is like works against the gene, like you need that. But it is also very bad for stem cell production, which most people don't really realize that we still do continue producing stem cells when we're older, but it's just a lot of things that we do that where you're definitely, as an older person, you're not producing it like you were when you were like a little kid or baby, but you still do, and spices are like something that just inhibits that. So got to get away from, like, I was just like, oh my God, Truth, what are you doing to me? And he's like, just be yourself, you know. And I tried to back down from spices over the summertime. I did. And then I was just like, I like spices. And then all of a sudden I get here and I'm meditating more and more and more and more. And I'm just finding, I was just this morning, I was like eating like straight MSM and water, which I didn't really have no problem with. And I was just realizing I only have an attraction to what is going to nourish my body. Like there's no emotion involved in my eating. I'm eating one meal a day, a blended soup, and I intend to continue that way, or just ongoing. And another big thing was Taylor Budd, or his screen name on YouTube is now Dowlor, you know, Jesus Christ, Taylor Budd. He's had all kinds of, but youngish guy, I guess he's getting to be about 30 now, always been into fasting, breatharianism, super philosophical, amazing person. And I saw a thing on Instagram, I was mentioning it earlier, of where he was talking about doing 10 months of liquidarian, and I was just like, that's things that I need. That's kind of why I'm on here, of just like, if there's only a few people that I can inspire, and I've been having a few people because I feel like some of my stuff is like kind of self-indulgent because it's just me sitting here fucking talking my brains out. And Truth was like, really the first one. He's like, I can't believe that you can do that, of like you just talk, and it's just like, it's like a journal entry. And then a few other people had hit me up. It's just like, I like where you're going with all of this. And I have to admit to you that like, I would love somebody like, I think it's what Taylor Budd does, although his stuff is a little more not so emotional, I guess, as me, or sort of explosive or something. My stuff's a little bit like crazy, right? It's a little more, it's not the same. It's like the same, just like, turn the camera on, let's talk, let's go, like, get it on. But I would love to, like, you know, not that I give a fuck, like, I like have like, you know, 75 to 150 people who sort of watch me all the time and know my associations with Truth and my fight, the good fight, or my journey of the good fight of longevity, of being a spiritual being, of figuring out what's amazing about living this life and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I'm at. And so the Saturn-Pluto conjunction was exact, with all kinds of other things, with Jupiter in there, with all of these, like, this is a big time. Today is Wednesday, 13th, 14th, 15th. We're still, like, in it. This whole year is going to be about making decisions, and that's where I'm at. And I seem to be on a good path of making decisions and of changing things into an order of where they're going to serve me more, and of like having more compassion and love, like I was talking about in my Christmas message. And I just want to say I'm done, and I'm going to say support me by supporting my music, links in the drop down. I'm very happy with where I'm at. It hasn't been easy. super, super emotional being I am, and I love it. I love feeling stuff, and that's it. It's Keith, bright blessings. Happy 2020. It's going to be a super interesting year. Oh, and by the way, I'm also going into my Saturn return. Yeah, my second Saturn return. And so are two of my close friends. All right. Love you. I'll talk to you later. And again, check out my music. It's amazing, actually. Doing more of it, getting real back plugged into it, switching back into some stuff. I've been spending 2 years doing a lot of yoga and kind of just discovering stuff. And I need to get back focused on my thing and bringing all this awareness back and like putting out amazing music and putting out amazing content. I really need to get a book out too. All right, peace out. I'll see you. It's Keith. I love you. Bright blessings. Namaste. Infinite metta. Bye.